Hello everybody, my name is Sneaky Snake. Today I'm going to be doing an MO profile review of the Order of Knights of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, also known as the Knights Hospitaller to you plebeians who don't know history. Um, but yeah, anyway, this is a great, um, I would say like base model and profile that has some struggles that I'll get into. But overall, they can be fit into lists pretty well, and also their models are amazing. So for that reason alone, I'm forced to take them. Tragic. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. So up first here, we've got the profile. So few things to know. They have a very solid stat block. They are slow with 4-4 move, but they have okay CC, BS 14, PH 14, Whip 13, 4 arm, 6 BTS, and 2 wounds. And they have good AVA of 5. Um, yeah, they just have like a lot going for them there. They really are very similar to Oryx. They're slower than Oryx, but they have more BTS, so it's kind of a trade-off. But yeah, they definitely do have a really nice stat block that can kind of carry you through a lot of situations. They also have stealth. It's not too important because it's not super often that you're moving these guys into the midfield. But when you do, the stealth is nice to have, and it can come into play every once in a while. They have a doctor, and that's probably the most important profile of all of them, just because MO kind of lacks a lot of support options. And so having that ability to take a doctor in a heavy infantry fire team is really nice. They also are one of the few HMG profiles. And if you're bringing the Osby HMG, he's not bad. I mean, of course, like, he doesn't have any like Viz mods, but um, I mean, he's still BS14 HMG who can link pretty well, and yeah, overall just a nice solid HMG platform. And then finally, they're very tanky. They have Arm 4 and 6 BTS, which means that if you're slapping a 10 bot on them, they're BTS 9, and like Arm 4 isn't super easy to get through. Um, yeah, just a good unit overall, at least like purely on stats alone. And yeah, they're not very easy to kill either, so it's really nice. They do have a couple of cons though. So first off, they have Frenzy. Um, I think Frenzy affects the Hospitallers a little bit more than it does, a unit like the Santiagos. Just because you're not really taking these guys into the midfield as often. They have an HMG platform, and really you don't want your HMG going into Frenzy, because you need it to remove like a lot of units. I mean, of course, it's still Burst 4 +1 special dice BS14 HMG, right? It can still do stuff, even when it's frenzied, but it just makes your life a little bit more difficult. So, um, for that reason, the frenzy is probably a little bit more of a debuff, but um, I mean, I don't know, like on all the other profiles, it's not that bad, specifically or especially because um you're usually like using them in heavy infantry teams, and you can get good use out of the frenzy, impetuous skills. So I mean, I know I have in the past, but yeah, just not. It's just a little bit more punishing, I would say, than it is on the Knights Santiago. So yeah, they are slow. 4-4 move kind of stinks. But it is what it is. It's not too bad. It's just something to know. It will come into play every once in a while, so just be aware of the fact that they are a little bit slower than some of the other knights. They have mild CC. It's not bad. Martial arts level 2 and CC 22 means you're basically always on CC 22. Um, so they're like good enough to defend themselves, not really good enough to like be attacking other CC units, but it does the job, and they're also pretty tanky, so they're not super easy to kill in the CC regardless. So yeah, um, yeah, they're decent, not terrible, but and then they don't really have like a lot of utility. Um, they have pretty strenuous linked options. It's basically either Joan or a wild card. outside of their own profiles, obviously. Um, and of the profiles that they have, it's really just like the Doctor and the HMG. All the other profiles, they just it's a little boring, and they don't really do anything for the list. Um, yeah, it's a little tragic. I kind of wish CB would give them some more like specialist profiles, or give them like hacking, or maybe like a Furbach or something. Um, but you know, they're still pretty solid as is. Like if they never changed, I would still probably take the Hospies like once every um yeah, once every so often. But they yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're fine, I guess. Um, anyway, I'm not going to complain too much just because this is a profile review, but I do like the Hospitallers. They're just a little hard to fit into lists sometimes. So for our final slide, we're going to be going over the fire teams and usages. Um, so they're pretty good at supporting other units. Specifically, the Doctor is just an excellent support piece. He can, heal up other guys and be a specialist and whatnot. And he's got a multi-rifle with BS-14, so he's not like a bad shooter either. They have HMG access, so they really always have that use case. Um, and at the very least, they have that one unique aspect about them, the fact that they're a pretty cheap HMG platform. So we'll say no to that. Um, there are a lot of counts as for Hospitallers, like all of the characters count as Hospitallers, and that is something of note just because you can kind of build some nice fire teams around that. Like, Joan counts as a Hospitaller, so like you can take Joan in a Hospi Doctor with the Santiago, for example, and it counts as a level 1, no, level 2 fire team. So yeah, it is nice. They do have like a lot of like purity bonuses. It's just there's a lot of other units that don't give them purity bonus, and it stinks a little bit. It is what it is. And then finally, they're pretty tanky in the midfield. Not that I don't know. I don't really find myself putting these guys in the midfield a lot, just because I would say probably the most common fire team I'm taking is the duo with the HMG and the Doctor, and those guys kind of tend to stick around like the DZ. But if they ever do make their way to the midfield, they're going to be able to do a lot of work. So it's definitely not a bad strategy, and they can definitely like create some success from there. But yeah, they are very tanky in the midfield, so that's a good thing. And then finally, moving on to our fire teams, we've got three here. The first one is going to be Joan, Hospi, and Santiago. Um, this is just kind of like the quintessential use of the Hospi, which is as a doctor. Um, there's a lot of fire teams I build around the Hospi Doctor, um, just because having somebody who's a specialist who can shoot, like I really do love, like I might not like all of the Hospi profiles, but I do really love the Doctor one. I think it's like the perfect example of like the type of Doctor you want in a list, right? Because it's not too expensive. It's 30 points, and you're getting a lot from it. Like it's not just a doctor; it's a heavy infantry with good CC who can shoot well and has like a multi-rifle, right? And so there's like a lot of capability in that package, and I really do love the Doctor Hospi. Um, the next duo is probably the most common duo I take with the Hospitallers, and that's um, the Doctor and the HMG. That's just because it's a pretty self-contained package that can do a lot. It's got an HMG to move up. It's got a doctor to push buttons. And on top of that, like if you just keep it in your DZ, it's not that bad. Like it's only 62 points. It's for a burst 5 HMG. Yeah, it doesn't have AP, but it does what you need it to do. Um, and if the Hospitaller like HMG ever gets super unlucky, you have a doctor to put him back up. So yeah, really like that duo. It's pretty cheap. Not much else to say about it. And then finally, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this, but there's an example core at the bottom. It's got the Hospitaller HMG with the Doctor, two boarding shotgun contender profiles. and then the Knight of Santiago Killer Hacker. So this is kind of the only use case I see for the boarding shotgun contender Knight Hospitallers, and it's really just like as ARO pieces. The contender is a scary ARO, don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, it's only damage 7 or PS7, so it is what it is, but it can do something, and people aren't necessarily just gonna like want to take that out in the open. So yeah, and then you're getting like a level 4 fire team, so that's cool, I guess. And you got like a tin bot to keep hackers off you and everything. So it's like a nice core. It's only 145 points, so you're not like breaking the bank with it. You can still have plenty of like plenty of orders and plenty of like Swick to fill out the rest of your list. So yeah, it's a nice core team. I just don't really think like cores are super great in N5, but yeah. Anyway, that's basically everything I had to say about Hospitallers. They're pretty solid units. If you use them, you won't be disappointed. They're just a little hit hard to fit into lists sometimes, but I really do think they are quite nice units, and you'll find good use out of them if you actually do take them. So let me know how you like the video, and I will see you in the next one.